Welcome back to Life's Journey, coming to you from Istanbul, perched on the edge of the Bosphorus Strait, dividing Asia from Europe. Our next guest gives us the tools to live a more stress-free life.
Justin Cohen is a motivation expert and no stranger to life's a journey. Zuraida recently caught up with him in Jersey to find out how to get the better of stress.
Justin, how do we go about interpreting the stresses in our lives differently so that it doesn't have a negative effect in our lives?
Well, there's two kinds of stress. There is eustress, which is considered good stress, and that's when, yes, your adrenaline might be pumping, but you're revved up, you're excited, you're raring to go. And then there's distress. And distress is anxiety, it's counterproductive, the adrenaline is pumping far too much, and you actually then compromise your performance. So how do you take that stress, as you say, and then actually convert it into eustress rather than distress? Well, it comes down to interpretation of what's happened. That's a big part of it. The American theologian Rick Warren says you're either in a problem, emerging from a problem, or about to go into a problem. Okay, that's life. Life is about dealing with problems. So why not just, instead of getting resistant and angry about it, why not embrace it? Why not say, yeah, I'm a problem solver? And in fact, what I suggest that anybody does is take out their business card, scratch out their title and write their problem solver, because that's what we do. And the reward for solving problems, the reward for dealing with those stresses is that you get more money, more prestige, and bigger problems to solve. Now look, problem is a word that can be quite stressful. Ooh, I've got a problem. So the vocabulary that we use is important too. I prefer the word challenge. Challenges are fun. Challenges stretch us. Challenges test our mettle. So watch the language that you're using to describe what's going on in your life, because that's going to have a huge impact on whether it's perceived as stressful or not.
So the words that come out of our mouth affect the operation of our brain?
Absolutely. You know, we've got to use transformational vocabulary. When you're using words like, when you're saying things, questions are important here. You know, we say, why am I feeling so anxious? You'll find reasons why you're feeling anxious, and you'll feel more anxious. But when you say, why am I gonna solve this? Why is this gonna be a great day? Your mind then moves you towards more resourceful answers, which actually program you into a state of optimism and resourcefulness.
They call it the rat race, and there's no doubt that modern life is stressful. But many people seem to enjoy the thrill of work and career. Or do they?
Justin, tell me about the characters who love and feed off drama. They need that in their lives.
That's really interesting, isn't it? That people do get a certain amount of pleasure, bizarrely, out of their distress. Because if I come here, Z, and I say to you, you know, I got to tell you, it's been hardcore this year, man. You don't know what I've had to deal with. I mean, firstly, there was this car accident, totaled my car. And then I had this job, massive job, the client wanted. What I start to get you, I start to give myself a little bit of kudos. In some weird, perverse part of my brain, I'm going, Z's going to think I'm an impressive guy. Because check, I've got all these things that I'm dealing with. And maybe she'll give me a bit of sympathy. She'll say, why, he's still standing. He's alive, gee, after dealing with that and dealing with the next thing and dealing with the other. So we do bizarrely get a little bit of credit sometimes. And then, as you say, yes, that adrenaline rush can be quite a kick. I mean, people take drugs to get that adrenaline rush. I mean, drugs like cocaine, caffeine even. What does caffeine do? It boosts your adrenaline. So if you're boosting it by telling yourself how tough your life is, well, that drama can, in a way, be kind of sadomasochistically pleasurable.
So how do you go about changing that behavior and practicing daily good habits?
Yeah, I think you've got to say to yourself, firstly, you've got to get leverage on yourself. You know, if this situation is not working for you, you've got to be motivated to move. And we're motivated by pain. So currently you might not be feeling enough pain, but you need to project forward and say, look, if I don't change these habits, what's going to happen? Well, it's going to affect my physical health. We know that people are undergoing a lot of distress. That has been found to be a causal factor in everything from flu to cancer and heart disease. It often affects our relationships. I mean, when we are in a lot of stress, our relationships suffer. Suddenly you're fighting more with your kids, with your wife. So you need to get leverage by saying, hey, if I don't change, look what's going to happen. I'm going to, at some point, I might not be in crisis now, but I'm going to hit crisis. My body's going to give up. My relationships are going to give up. And is this really a cool way to live? Once you've got that leverage, once you're committed to making the change, to be honest, then it actually becomes a lot easier. But firstly, you need to be absolutely committed.
And finally, give me some key factors that one could implement in one's life to de-stress.
Well, so you've got exercise, you've got meditation, you've got things like people who have a pet have lower stress levels. Just the intimacy that you have with a pet, stroking that pet, we know that that has a very marked influence. And yes, obviously having a partner. I think for so many people what's sad is that their relationship is actually a source of distress. And so that's why you want to make sure that if it is, you need to deal with that. Go to counseling, sort that out. We know that people who are in relationships where there's a lot of displays of contempt, a lot of character assassination, have significantly higher levels of stress in their lives and high levels of illness. Your work, if you keep saying you hate your job, change it, get out, but stop whining. Because every time you whine and whinge, what you're doing is you increasing your levels of distress. See, so much of what we think is stressful or what we perceive as being dangerous, because remember, stress is about dealing with danger, perceived danger, is irrational. Take crime. Crime is a fact in South Africa. Let's not dispute that. But the truth is, as a South African, you've got a much higher chance of dying because you're a smoker or because you're not exercising regularly and you're eating badly. And I'm not the one who says that. So here we are, we're all worried about crime. We're all getting distressed about crime. Whereas, yes, it's a factor, but it's not nearly as big as a factor as the things that we can actually control, like our lifestyle habits.
Justin, thanks for being on Life's a Journey. We love it when you come.
Z, it's always great to be on the journey with you. Thank you.
From the food we eat to the thoughts we think, there are many ways to get the better of stress. Our health is in our hands.
Next up, an essential well-being tip courtesy of Radox.
Today we're talking about stress relief, and there is no better way to unwind after a day than in a Radox bath. Bathing has been important through history because it comes down to health and medical reasons, and historically people didn't have access to baths, so they had to come to places like this hammam. But nowadays we have access to baths, and we don't really put in the amount of time that we should into our bathing techniques. Firstly, we should really pay attention to getting clean, and the second thing is to really de-stress. And that is a huge part that bathing can play in our daily routine, is helping us unwind from the day and helping us prepare for the next.
Our weekly competition prize comes to you courtesy of Radox. We also include a premium collection of Radox products for your herbal well-being. To enter, just SMS JOURNEY to 33601. And remember to visit our Facebook site for well-being tips and free giveaways.